it is there, but it is great to connect with you all. And I trust that you get, a lot of sort of valuable kind of insights and ideas, particularly around employee engagement. It's one of the areas that I work in both here in Australia, but also in Cambodia. And so, Chirumip Sua and Soksabai for our Khmer friends. And I do miss being in Cambodia. I've been working in Cambodia for about 10 years and travel usually quite frequently, running leadership development and training, working alongside and with the capacity specialists and a bunch of other organizations. Have a lot of good friends, and I really do miss being there. I haven't been back to Cambodia since the start of the COVID pandemic. So I came back to Sydney in February 2020. But I do miss it, and hope to get back very soon, maybe early next year when things settle down. So it is, as I said, it's good to be here. And I, really kind of believe that just going to share some brief little insights around where employee engagement is around the world, but particularly focusing on where it is in Cambodia at the moment, and just giving you some ideas depending on your role in your workplace. If you have a management and leadership role, HR role, or working alongside people, will give you some insights in ways to, I guess, increase and lift employee engagement. And so I'm going to go through some slides. I'll give some opportunity for people to ask questions as we go. If you do have a question and you want to, pop it in the chat, that's great too. I'll try and keep my eye on the chat as well as everything else. So let's see how we go here. Is my slide going to move? There you go. So I'm going to touch on the 5 foundations to engage your employees effectively, and I guess give you some tips and ideas around that. And I suppose this is, obviously it's just a brief little webinar to give you some insights and ideas to help you, I guess, understand how important employee engagement is in an organization or in a team or in a business or a company, because it is really critical. And so just to give you a bit of an idea around what employee engagement is, I have a few different definitions there on the screen, one from Harvard Business Review, one from Forbes, and then Gallup have defined engaged employees are those who are involved in, enthusiastic about, and committed to their work and workplace. And some of the statistics that I want to share with you kind of at the start come from a recent survey that Gallup have done globally on the state of the workplace globally. And I think a lot of the research and data that they've come up with is reflective, I think, of this season that we've walked through in COVID. But quite surprisingly, the statistics for employee engagement are quite low everywhere around the world at the moment. I have my own little definition for employee engagement, just to keep it really simple, and it's down the bottom of the screen there, and it says, to love what you do, enjoy who you do it with, and do it well. And I think in a nutshell, that is what great employee engagement would be, where people in the workplace, they love what they do. They enjoy the team, they enjoy the environment and the culture and the people that they get to do their work with, and that they are doing their work well, so that they're growing and being able to contribute at a significant level. There's 3 kind of levels of engagement. And Gallup use these 3 levels in their research. And obviously what we're looking for in any organization or team is to have engaged employees that are highly involved in and enthusiastic about their work and workplace. So they kind of like have this sense of ownership and drive for performance and innovation, and to help the organization move forward. The second 2 levels are are more disengaged or not engaged employees. So the not engaged employees are kind of like they're there, they turn up, they're they're looking at the clock, they're not really engaged, they're not energetic, they're not passionate about their work. And then the disengaged employees are the ones obviously that are really unhappy. And often a disengaged employee is basically can be undermining what the other workers are doing. And so, the goal for any organization is that the higher level of employee engagement we have, the impacts that has across an organization are quite incredible. And it's why I'm really passionate about, helping people, helping leaders, and helping organizations build that higher sense of employee engagement. So to give you a little bit of the stats at the moment, you'll see here the global statistics for employee engagement is very low 20%, and the life evaluation is at 32%. So what that means is globally around the world that employees who are in that engaged definition of in their work and their workplace is only 20%. So what that means is there's 80% of employees who are either not engaged or disengaged, and that statistic to me, this research only came out a couple of months ago, so it's based on our current status around the world, and you'll see there the difference between the Australian stats. Our employee engagement is actually lower than Cambodia. Cambodia's employee engagement is at a 23%, but you'll notice the life evaluation in Cambodia is quite a bit lower, but not too far from kind of the global statistics around life evaluation. Basically, was a series of questions that they asked people, giving how they're feeling about their life at the moment out of 10. So 1 being very, very unhappy, 10 being fantastic. And so around the world, people are only really feeling about a 3 out of 10 as far as being satisfied and happy and fulfilled in their workplace. This is specifically related to their work. And so there's a lot of room for improvement around the world, in Cambodia and in Australia, for organizations to take hold of the data and the statistics and go, okay, there's things that we need to do to create some change in our organization so that we can lift and increase that level of employee engagement. Obviously in this season, people have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and people, sort of 45% of people have said that their life has been affected a lot. So not just a little bit, but a lot by the coronavirus situation. And there's some statistics there around how it's impacted people in the context of their workplace. So yeah, some pretty interesting statistics. And I was actually quite surprised at how low the employee engagement is around the world at the moment. And as I said, there's a great opportunity for organizations, for leaders, for managers, for CEOs to actually build a higher level of employee engagement across their organizations or their teams, because the impacts of disengaged and not engaged employees is pretty significant. Has anyone got any questions about any of that so far? I see a few people on the call that I recognize or have seen in other spaces. So yeah, it's good to see some familiar people in the room. If you do have a question, don't hesitate to throw your hand up. I'm going to sort of give you a fair bit of information in a short space of time, and just by the nature of what this is about. So the things that are absolutely critical in developing a culture where engagement is thriving I guess what I would call these key cultural elements. So building a culture of trust, building a culture of purpose, a culture of clarity, a culture of value, and a culture of growth. And I will give a little bit more information about those kind of 5 cultural elements, because the behaviors and way of working together that we need to adopt, that I'm going to talk about, that's kind of like the foundations or the pillars of a higher level of engagement, will automatically build into your organization or your team those key cultural elements. And I think that, if all of us kind of sat back, regardless of kind of where we're at and what sort of organization that we're involved in, would feel that we would love to be a part of an organization or a team or a workplace where we love what we do, we enjoy who we do it with, and we do it well. And those cultural elements of building trust, of having significant understanding around purpose, around clarity, so being clear, knowing what you do and how you do it, that sense of value and appreciation and the opportunity to grow. And I think understanding a little bit more about how you do that is kind of like where I want to land this kind of conversation. So a few of the other statistics that have come out: organizations with high employee engagement have less absenteeism, which means staff are not sort of taking days off or not turning up or being sick. Less employee turnover, so they have a higher retention of staff, which I think is really important. 48% fewer safety incidents, 41% fewer product defects, 21% higher productivity, and 22% higher profit. I find that statistic amazing, that just by increasing employee engagement, there's a runoff effect that actually increases profitability and our productivity across an organization. What people don't realize is the significant cost of low employee engagement. So Gallup have estimated that the low engagement cost the global economy $8.1 trillion. That sounds like a lot of money. I don't even know how much a trillion is, but I'm sure it's a lot. It's more than a million. And so, they're saying that the costs on profits and potential financial benefit with low engagement is costing our economy around the world $8.1 trillion a year. But it's not just profit that is impacted by low engagement. It's productivity, it's innovation, it's organizational change, and it's also well-being of employees. So that sense of belonging, that sense of feeling a part of something significant, that sense of being valued and appreciated, all those things add significant value to employees. And so that sense of well-being is lifted, that sense of how they're feeling about themselves, how they're feeling as they turn up to work each day. And so it's not just about the finance. I mean, the profit is part of it. A higher employee engagement means that the potential for higher profit, higher productivity, but it's also that innovation, that productivity, the organizational change, employee well-being. To me, those things are critically important in developing what I would consider a healthy, vibrant, and empowered community. And so it's not just, as I said, it's not just about the money at the end of the day. Now, one of the interesting things, I noticed when people were sort of saying where they were from and what they did, we have, a lot of people who are involved at, either coordinators or managers or development or supervisors. And so there's a lot of people in the room that are managing people. And so, the manager and the supervisor or the boss, if you like, that relationship with employees matters the most. And so if you're a supervisor or a manager, then your the way that you interact and treat and engage with your team is critically important, and has a massive impact on whether employees are engaged or not. And so if you look at those statistics here, that first one, when my supervisor focuses on my strength and my positive characteristics, then 61% say that they are engaged, and only 38% say they're not engaged, and only 1% are disengaged. And you see, if the supervisor focuses on my weaknesses or negative characteristics, or, I'm ignored completely, the level of disengagement continues to increase. And so it's a responsibility of leaders to lead the way of cultural change. And so, it is a significant role that a manager and a supervisor or a leader, whether it's a small team of 2 or 3 or a big team of 20, or you're leading a whole department of an organization, or you're leading the organization itself. Every leadership space that you work in, that you lead out of, is significant in creating higher levels of employee engagement. So these are the foundations for building an engaged culture in the workplace. And so these are, to me, the key things as leaders and as organizations that we need to be looking at developing. And I just want to unpack these a little bit with you. And if there's any questions, feel free to let me know. And so connection, alignment, contribution, opportunity, and appreciation. And these foundations are absolutely critical, and what they will build is those cultural elements that we talked about before. And so I just want to go through these 5, give you a bit of an understanding around what they are and what they mean. And as Marity said, we're going to, for those of you who would like a copy of this presentation, you'll get that when you fill in the evaluation, because there's a series of questions that I put in there that I think are really important for us if we want to build these foundations, to be asking ourselves, asking our staff, our employees, our teams, and across our whole kind of organizations. And so let's have a look at the first one. And we talked initially about a culture of trust, and that's what connection will build. So connection is all about building positive relationships in the workplace. And the questions that we use to understand where this level is at, where the level of connection is in a workplace or in a team, are things like, do you have friends at work? And this is about, I guess, that second part of that sentence, love what you do, enjoy who you do it with, and do it well. This is about enjoying who you do it with. And so having, that really positive sense of connection. Do you have friends at work? Are there high levels of trust between you and other team members? Do you feel supported, safe, and cared for? Are there elements of fun and laughter and joy in the workplace? And is conflict dealt with in healthy and effective ways? I actually believe that building a culture of trust is the foundation for building everything else. I think if we want to see employee engagement across our organizations or our teams, if we want to see that increase, then to me, trust is really foundational, because it's hard to build upon anything if there's no trust. If I don't trust the people I work with, if I don't trust my manager, if I don't trust the organization, it's very difficult to have healthy and higher levels of connection, which lead to greater levels of employee engagement. And I think one of the natural impacts that we've seen around the world because of the COVID pandemic is the lack of connection. For example, in Sydney, we've been in strict lockdown in Sydney now for 110 days straight. And so we have had strict stay-at-home orders. And so, we haven't been able to go into the office. None of our shops have been open. None of our restaurants have been open, or cafes. And so we've gone this last 110 days, and we've just finished our lockdown yesterday. They've started to lift some of the restrictions, but there's been no connection. There's been, yes, online, we connect in this way, but it's not the same as actually being with people, having conversations, going out for lunch, when you work in the same area. I know that over the last 18 months, we've come in and out of lockdown in Australia. I know that's been similar in Phnom Penh and in other places in Cambodia. And so we've lost that interpersonal connection space. And I think that is one of the reasons why we find ourselves in this season where employee engagement it's at an all-time low. It's the lowest it's ever been in Australia, I know that. But I think just generally globally, it's very low. And so we've really missed that sense of connection. And I think, in this season of COVID, it's one of the things that I think the impacts that we are experiencing now globally is that it's very, very difficult to build trust without connection. And so, particularly in different cultures, I know from my experience of working in Cambodia alongside people in Cambodia that trust is built by hanging out, by having a coffee, by going out for dinner, by socializing, by, learning about each other and being a part of each other's lives. And it's very, very difficult to do that online. You can do that in sort of elements, but not really. And, I know people in Australia, for example, who have started new jobs. They've started a new job and they still haven't physically met anyone on their team. They've only met them online. And so this connection piece is really important. And it's something that we need to, all of these 5 foundations, we actually need to be intentional. Connection, building a culture of trust won't sort of just happen accidentally. We need to be intentional. We need to be on purpose. And we need to be consistent in the way that we build connection and trust in our teams and in our organizations. The second one is the foundation is contribution. And this is where we're building a culture of purpose. And I think, one of the 3 sort of key things that people look for in life is purpose. So we sort of that sense of identity, that sense of belonging, and that sense of purpose. And, they say like purpose is one of the top 3 needs for humans. And so contribution is all about, working to your strength, doing what you do best every day in the workplace. And so, to not only about loving what you do, but actually doing it well. And it's also about contributing to the bigger picture and success of the organization. And I think people at the end of the day, and I find more and more so even with younger people, they want to contribute to something that is beyond just their role. They want to feel like they're playing a part in creating something. They want to feel that they're playing their part and their role and a part of something that is bigger and better and brighter than just their piece of their role, their job description, that they're actually a part of, a team. They're part of an organization that's actually, and they're contributing to that. And so, do you know your strengths? It's a great question so what are you naturally good at? And are you doing that every day? Are you using your strengths every day? Do you feel like you are contributing to organizational success and health? Does your role make good use of your strengths, your knowledge, and your experience? And so when we build cultures of trust and a culture of purpose, there is this sense of great connection where people are contributing to the organizational success. They're contributing to the team by doing what they do best every day. And I think it's just absolutely, again, just critical. We have to be intentional about this. As leaders, as managers, or if you're an owner or a CEO leading an organization, these are the questions that you need to be thinking about. Are these things happening across our organization and across our team? And create intentional pathways and strategies for people to engage in this level of contribution on a sort of continual basis. I'm going to take a minute, and I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. And so has anyone got any questions or thoughts or feedback or disagreement or anything that you'd like to contribute? I'd love to hear from some people in the room. So if you've got something to add, or a question or a thought or a comment, just take yourself off mute and speak away.
So yeah, I just have a question. Can I?
Go for it.
Yes. Based on your explanations that the staff engagement will make a staff retention, right? If we have a high engagement at the company, the retention is that. But
yes.
I want to distinguish how can if one company retention well, but because of because some staff might be because they are at the comfort zone or something. So how can I distinguish with that?
So
they stay because of our company have a high engagement of staff or whatever, or because of we have, or it is because of they are now in the comfort zone. This is one question. And the second question, what are the symptoms of a disengagement, of staff disengagement?
Yep.
So
okay.
by my own just suggestion, if one of in the, or is it in general to a tip in general in order, or type of company in order to the activity that we do in order to increase the engagement, or you have experience in type of FMCG industry that the tip for higher engagement, something like that. You got what I mean, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so there's a couple of really good questions in there. Thank you for asking. I think so. There's sort of 12 areas that I know that Gallup use in working out, the level of employee engagement, and some of them are kind of tapped into the foundations that I'm sharing today. But so one of the is what I said about contribution. So an employee will be disengaged if they don't feel valued, appreciated, listened to, if they don't feel that they're contributing to the team or to the organization, if they don't have a clear understanding of their role and expectation, and if they don't have a good relationship with their supervisor or their manager. They're the main kind of areas. And I guess the last one that they touch on is that if they don't feel like there is opportunity for them to grow and progress in the organization. And so they're the kind of main things that you look at in people that would cause people to be disengaged, is just not being clear around role and expectation, about not having when I was talking about that good connection. So if you work in a team and there's conflict and people don't get on, and so that kind of team morale is low, then your engagement will be extremely low as well. And I guess if people do love what they do and enjoy who they do it with and have the opportunity to do it well, then that impacts the retention of staff. And so I would say in an organization, if you have a high staff turnover, so people are constantly leaving, sometimes that can be about, pay. It can be about them trying to find a job maybe that pays more money. But a lot of the time it's not about the money. It's about their engagement. And so we found that the higher level of engagement in an organization, the lower level that we have of people leaving or looking for another job or being disinterested or disengaging, because they feel engaged. They feel happy about going to work. They feel positive about their work environment. they love what they do, and they're enjoying the team or the group or the organization, and they're doing what they do well. And people that feel that at a high level don't want to leave. They want to stay in that organization because it's ticking all those boxes for them. Does that answer your questions?
Yes. So as in the So I just clarify.
Okay.
So as in the conclusion, we can say if there is no room for improvement or the career path or something, it might be because of they don't know where the role is, they don't feel connected, or they don't like their manager. There is a type of disengagement, right?
Yeah, that's right. They would be some key elements.
Okay.
And all of those things to me are fixable. You know, working on team dynamics, building trust, building connection, developing purpose and alignment are things that leaders and managers and organizations can work on and develop. And that is one of the things that the capacity specialists do well in the context of organizational health. So yeah, thanks for your question. Has anyone else got a thought or a question? No? Okay. So someone has their hand up. It's funny how you get these little notifications. Sapana, is it? You have a question? No? All right, I'll move on.
There is somebody is raising up. It's Supanyakut.
Yeah.
And
I think maybe has a problem of mind because he or she unmute, but we can't
hear her. Yes.
Yeah, I cannot hear. It's okay. I'll move on, and if we can if you can type your question maybe in the chat, do it that way. Oh, gone too far.
Hello, do you hear me?
Ah, yes.
Okay. Sorry, I may use my earphone. That's a big problem, so I use my laptop.
No worries.
Okay, my question is on the trust. Can you go back to the trust, because we understand that building a good connection is just building a trust. My question is, the trust is to be earned or to be given?
Great question. And I think it's a bit of both. I think you're not going to build trust overnight, and trust is one of those things that takes time to build high levels of trust, and trust is easily broken, right? And so I think this is different to respect. I think, but again, culture in Cambodia calls for kind of high respect of those in leadership or your manager. You need to have deep respect, but trust is different. I think leaders and managers and supervisors build trust by being genuine, by being authentic, by supporting and caring for the team around them and their staff. And so I think there's it's sort of two elements. I think you need to give trust, so people need to feel like you trust them, and then that can be in small ways. And again, you know, if they do one thing well, then you continue to build and develop that trust. But this is more about the culture of trust, because in a culture of trust, people feel safe, people feel secure, they feel, you know, in a great organization that has high levels of trust, people feel that they can be honest, they can be vulnerable. If they need help, they can ask for it. If they make a mistake, they can share it honestly, and they know that, you know, that's going to be okay. Do you know what I mean? So building that trust is absolutely critical. particularly, and I think leaders generally are the ones that lead the way in building trust. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, Ben. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so appreciation is the next foundation, which is building this culture of value. And appreciation is, you know, it's where people feel acknowledged, they feel valued, they feel respected in the workplace. You know, so the questions that I'm often asking team, you know, do you feel valued and respected by your leaders and peers? Are you acknowledged when you do good work? Do you feel heard when you share your thoughts or ideas? Do you feel a valued member of the team? And is the culture filled with gratitude, enjoyment, and fairness? You know, I think if we're all honest, we all like to be appreciated. You know, when you do well, we like to know that people have noticed that. And this builds that culture of value where it's not just about the results that we are passionate about as an organization. We do want results, but we also want relationship. We want to build that culture of value where people do feel heard, people do feel valued in who they are and the contribution that they make. And that's, again, it's what's going to lead to that higher level of employee engagement where people feel that sense of value. Opportunity, this builds a culture of growth. It's all about the development, growth, and progress of people in your organization. You know, do people feel that they can share ideas, thoughts, and concerns? Do you receive effective feedback on your performance? Do you have opportunities for development and training? And do you have a clear pathway for advancement? I think going back, to the question that was asked before, people will disengage if they don't feel they have opportunity in an organization. And so, you know, if they're not getting opportunity for growth, for development, for training, for upskilling, for being part of new projects, for bringing their ideas and thoughts and concerns, that they're getting effective feedback to help them grow and develop and to become better, and that they have opportunities and an understanding of, you know, if I work really hard, that I can, you know, I can sort of move in the organization. And so people like to see opportunity. And one of the reasons that is that opportunity creates hope. And hope really is a big driver, motivationer of engagement. When people can see that there's, you know, I might be doing this job now, but this organization, this team, this leader is investing in me. They're giving me opportunity for growth. They're developing me. They're working with me so that I can progress. Makes a massive difference to the level of someone's engagement in an organization. And the last key foundation is this foundation of alignment. And this is building the culture of clarity. And I talked about this a little bit before as well. So this is when people have a clear understanding, I guess, and synergy and buy-in to the direction and values of the organization. But it's also where people understand and know what their role is. Expectations are clear and communicated. You know, that they know and support the values and purpose and culture of the organization. And then, you know, questions like, do you feel aligned to the values of your leaders? Are you motivated by the company why, so the purpose, and do you trust your leaders? And so if you have misalignment in an organization or in a team, it's where everybody's going in a different direction. Whereas alignment creates that synergy where people can move together towards a common goal, can move together towards the vision, can move together towards, you know, the KPIs, the results and the outcomes that the organization wants to get. When there's misalignment and people aren't aligned, it's very difficult to create momentum and it's very difficult to move forward because that alignment isn't there. And people are confused. They don't know, you know, if their role, if they're doing what they should be doing, they're not 100% sure. And that's that clarity, culture of clarity is where people have understanding. You know, they know what they need to do. They know how to do it and they're empowered and it's aligned with who they are and who the organization is. And so, yeah, if you look at those 5 sort of keys, we just go back to that screen. Where am I? The connection, alignment, contribution, opportunity, and appreciation. And as I said, these foundations of high employee engagement are critical, because they won't happen unless we're deliberate or intentional. We have to have some strategies and some plans in place as leaders, as managers, as supervisors, of how we're going to do this. How do we increase connection? Ask yourself that question. In my organization, in my team, the people that, how can I increase alignment? How can I increase contribution? How can I create clarity for my team moving forward? And how can I build that appreciation, that sort of culture of value across the organization? So, at the Capacity Specialist, one of the things that we do is an engagement and culture health check of organizations, and that might be something that your organization or team might be interested in. And there's a whole bunch of different aspects that connected to that, depending on the size of the organization, depending on sort of where things are at with your employee engagement, to build in some recommendations through interviews, surveys, and brainstorms around some of the changes and cultural shifts that need to be made, and then provide ways where you can get coaching and mentoring and workshops to actually help create the behavioral shifts that need to happen in an organization to increase your employee engagement. Because at the end of the day, we spend a lot of time in the workplace. And so we want everybody to love what they do, enjoy who they do it with, and to have opportunities to do it well. So I just want to, again, just open up the floor, up the room, if people have any questions or comments about any of that. I'd love to just continue this conversation. Any questions? Yep, I see that hand.
Yeah,
Anna?
Yeah, thank you. Brett, can you go back to your presentation? I'm still have some,
Which particular one?
I think the overall, I mean, you go through the relations between those 5 foundations.
Yep. This slide?
Yes. So in each of every slide you present, for example, in connection, you state about trust. So
yep,
build a good connection is about trust. And then second is about contribution, is about purpose.
Yes.
I'm feeling a bit doubtful in this 2 position if we don't have a very clear purpose together and then get trust and goes through together. How it gonna be driven team engagements?
So ask the question again.
The question is which of these 2 would be the first one if the purpose is coming first, because we understand the same purpose. We are on the same boats toward one purpose.
Yeah.
And then we build a connection with everyone trust.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at in a sense, these 5, I guess maybe a different word would be, pillars for building an engaged culture. So if you want to build a highly functioning and healthy, thriving, engaged culture, you need all 5. It's not that, in my opinion, one is better or more important than the other. But what I would say is it's very hard to build a culture of purpose when you don't have trust. So in essence, I would say from my personal experience, I've worked with over 100 different organizations and over 400 leaders, that trust is always the critical first foundation to building the other things. For example, it's hard to build a culture of value if there's no trust. And so if I don't trust my leaders, or if I don't trust my teammates, or if there's that no kind of sense of trust in that environment or that organization, even though people might value what I do, I'm not necessarily going to trust it, which is why I always come back to this idea that building trust is absolutely critical to building upon the other four. But to me, they're all just as important as each other, because sometimes creating purpose and value and clarity actually are the things that help you build trust. And so you need to see these 5 foundations or 5 pillars not as separate. Okay, we're going to build connection. You need strategy to build this culture, an engaged, thriving culture where we have connection, contribution, appreciation, opportunity, and alignment. Now, you might focus on one of them at a time, but in essence, they need to be building into to each of them as they go. Is that helpful?
Yes, very much helpful. But the thing is not these 5 foundation it will be not coming in order, right? So
no, they don't have to be in order. They just need, I think they need to be, the strategy needs to be, how do I build all 5 of these? Because, if you don't have value or growth, it's very hard to build trust. But if you don't have trust, it's very hard to create clarity or opportunity. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a package. These 5 foundations they all need to be developed and increased, and leaders need to be intentional about the things that they can do to build all 5 of these foundations across their teams and organizations.
yes, but can I think of building a purpose first before starting, because people are in team together, at least we have the same purpose, right?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah,
we
that's
are here,
absolutely
here, and then starting the other 4.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
What you'll find is if you focus on one, you focus on purpose, for example, the others will begin to grow if you are intentional about building a culture of purpose. That will help build trust. It will help build growth. It will help build clarity, because you're building one of them. They sort of grow together, if that makes sense.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Gabrielle, did you have anything to add from a capacity specialist perspective?
Thank you, Brett. So I guess more just that from our experience, we see this area is quite a complex issue, and it faces many organizations, and I guess in Cambodia, organizations suffer from high turnover and a lot of the symptoms of a lack of employee engagement. So in the capacity specialist goal to, I guess, help organizations to be more successful, more effective, and also helping their people to be more successful and more effective. Employee engagement is a key area that we like to focus on. So I guess if organizations do need help, or even if they just want to get some insights, we're always very happy to talk. Yeah, because as you showed at the beginning of the webinar, if organizations can get this right, it can really add value. Yeah. Thank you for your sharing. Participants, please feel free to ask any other things you want, and see if we're able to give you some further ideas and thoughts.
I would also say, look, if you have questions, if some of what I've shared has stirred some questions for you around your role, around you know, your organization, around ways that you can, I guess, be intentional about building this, you know, please, I guess, reach out to us. You know, if there's questions that specifically relate to what I've shared today, I'm happy to share my email, that people can email me directly, or you can email the capacity specialists, and I'm happy to share, you know, further if you need more clarity around what we've shared today. And obviously, if there's ways that we can help you as a leader, or if we can help your organization to build on these foundations, then we'd love to be able to work with you and alongside you to help you to do that. Because as I said, the benefits of being a part of an organization that has a great healthy culture with high employee engagement, it's not just the impacts it has on profit and finance, it's the impacts it has on well-being, staff retention, innovation, organizational change. There's so many aspects that are impacted by building healthy teams and functioning and thriving culture. And so love to be able to talk to you further about that. We'd love to get your feedback. As I said, if you have more questions, please don't hesitate to just hang on, there's a question. I'll answer that in a sec. Yeah, don't hesitate to email. Can you please give a brief example of best practice of each foundation? That's a really good question. And if we had more time, I'd love to actually get people's ideas, because I think this is the kind of thing where, you know, there's a lot of people in this room that have probably got a lot of experience and a lot of ideas around, you know, what might be, you know, something that I could do to help kind of build this particular foundation. And so I guess I'll just quickly give you a couple of thoughts and ideas. And again, I'm happy to give more around this. So trust, for me, building a culture of trust, this idea around connection, is prioritizing people in your organization. You know, it's not necessarily, it's not a difficult thing to do, to build relationships, to prioritize people, to make sure that people feel supported and safe and cared for and listened to, create moments of joy and moments of fun and moments of laughter in the workplace. Sometimes I think work can be, you know, it's so serious and our cultures are so sort of stuck, that people are sort of scared to laugh, scared to smile. And we want people to enjoy coming to work. That's part of this idea of employee engagement, is that people really enjoy coming to work. And so, you know, creating practices of building trust, whether that's team check-ins, whether that's, you know, doing things together outside of work. It's actually building and focusing in on relationships is really important. I think the whole contribution and purpose it's if I'm honest, it's actually about understanding the strengths of your team. You know, what are people naturally good at, and making sure that they're doing those things and contributing in positive ways. And so, you know, a practice, if you like, you know, something practical that you could do is around, you know, getting your team to, you know, what do you feel your strengths are? What are you good at? What do you love to do in the context of the work? And then creating opportunities for them to do that more often. And so, and also, you know, do they feel like they are contributing to the bigger picture? And so inviting people in to conversations. Evaluation, appreciation, it's probably the easiest one in a sense. Make sure that you appreciate your team. If someone does something well, make sure you acknowledge it. Make sure you let people know, make a big deal out of it, champion it, applaud them. You know, if the team does something well, you know, we've got to develop this culture of value where people feel appreciated and acknowledged. I was listening to a podcast of a very successful CEO in America, and he made a habit every morning. He would write 10 notes of gratitude and appreciation to 10 different staff in his organization every day, every morning. He did that for 10 years. So you imagine how many little notes he's written to staff and built that culture of value. So there's some simple things that you can do there. Opportunity and growth, again, to me, it's around having conversations. It's actually being intentional about having conversations with your team, with your staff, with your leaders about their ideas, their thoughts, giving them opportunity to receive feedback, and creating pathways for development and training. You know, what you need to have, again, it comes back to that connection piece as well. Part of that is going to happen through building relationship and building trust, is knowing that, you know, this person on your team wants to grow or wants to develop in this way, or wants to, you know, become a better leader, and etc. And the alignment piece, again, it's just part of it is communication and making sure that people on your team, people in your organization understand the purpose of the organization, the vision, the mission, the values, you know, create ways where you can bring that alignment, where, you know, running a workshop or, you know, having a time where you actually stop what you do for half an hour and sit around and talk about the values and directions of the team, the organization, what you value, what they value, and how that aligns with the organization. So look, there's a few quick ideas that, you know, but I could talk about more and more and more. There's a link in the chat to the feedback. We'd love to just take a minute or two to give us some quick feedback. And then that will also ensure that you get a copy of today's slides, which I think will be helpful to remembering what we've done. So that'd be great. That's all from me. If you can all quickly just do the little survey, that would be fantastic from our perspective. I'll hand back over to you, Marity.